Hey guys, what's up? So we have a new update in Advanced Server and it's patch 1.5.06. First is Yi Sun-shin. The developers think Yi Sun-shin is powerful in the early and mid game, so they'll make some adjustments. His damage when switching weapons is weakened in the early levels, from 85 down to 70%. And they've removed his damage reduction after using his first skill. But don't worry, they're still observing his performance, so this is still not the final version. Next is Ling. The developers wanted Ling's enemies to have a fighting chance when against him, so they've made some adjustments. If he is crowd controlled while above a wall, he will fall down and be slowed for 2 seconds.
Avoid it, or just undertake.
His second skill will now have a longer delay when using it above a wall. And the movement speed he gets when using his ultimate is now lower. This is when he moves while in an invincible state. It means it's harder to follow enemies who are running away from your ultimate's area of effect. Next is Popol and Kupa. They wanted to remove Popol and Kupa's support role, so they are giving him more damage and less HP. Their first skill damage is adjusted by weaker base damage but higher physical attack bonus. They also reduce the slow effect on his traps, and they've increased his attack speed bonus when in ultimate form. Next is Zhong. Despite his last nerf, Zhong still showed good potential in ranked games. Now they will nerf his mobility, durability, and damage. His passive will now have a longer delay before he is healed. Previously it's 1 second, now it's 2 seconds. His movement speed boost and spell vamp bonus from his passive is now lower. His damage while in dragon form is also nerfed by 50 points at max level. Next is Luo Yi. She is getting used a lot in ranked games, so they'll adjust her damage and crowd control ability. Her first skill damage is nerfed by 20 points at all levels. Her second skill base damage and magic power bonus is also nerfed. And they also reduce the damage and range when there is a yin-yang reaction by 10%. This means enemies will be pulled a bit shorter than before. Next is Kaja. They wanted to make Kaja's pushing ability and durability a bit stronger in the early game. His base HP is increased by 150 points and they've increased the base damage of his first skill. Next is Claude. The last nerf on Claude made him weak in the early game, so they'll slightly buff his skill 1. He will now gain more attack speed and movement speed from his first skill.
Let me introduce you to my partner.
Next is Helcurt. The developers think his passive silence is too easy to trigger, making him hard to deal with. So they adjusted the way his silence is triggered. If the enemy uses a hard crowd control skill, they will be silenced. If it has no CC effect, the enemy will not be silenced. Previously, any skill that deals damage to Helcurt will be silenced. Now it needs to be a CC skill for the silence to take effect. The new silence only applies to his passive skill. His first skill still has the same silence effect as before, and they also increase his attack speed stats. Next is Kimmy. They've adjusted her basic attack damage by making it weaker in the early game and then stronger when she reaches max level. Next is Aldous. The developers think he has a hard time farming, so they've increased his skill 1 base damage. But in exchange, they've lowered the damage he gets from each stacks, from 8 down to 7 damage per stacks. So faster farming but weaker damage in the late game. Next is Esmeralda. They've increased the shield she gets from her first skill, but they've fixed her shield limit issue. Previously, her shield can go more than 50% of her max HP. Now it can no longer pass 50%.
Tides rise, tides fall.
Next is Vale. They've lowered the mana cost for his first skill and increased its base damage. The cooldown is also reduced for the damage range increase version of the skill. They also increase the base damage for his second skill when stop on hit is chosen. When knock airborne is chosen, the duration knock up is now shorter from 1.2 down to 1.1 seconds. Next is Karina. Her passive damage is now stronger. Previously, its extra damage is based on 10% of the enemy's missing HP. Now it's 15%, and they've shortened the cooldown of her ultimate. Next is Alpha. They've increased his physical attack bonus on his ultimate from 270 to now 360%. Next is Minsitthar. His second skill damage is now higher in the early levels, and they also lowered its cooldown and mana requirement.
They're all dead.
Next is Gatotkaca. They've reduced the range of his enhanced basic attack when it reaches late game. They also lowered the slow effect from his first skill by 10%. Next is the revamped Zilong. His second skill range is increased by 8%. They also increase its base damage by 50 points at all levels. Next is the revamped Eudora. They've adjusted the way her ultimate damage works. Previously, the second hit has higher damage than the first. Now it's reversed. Higher damage on the first hit and lower on the second. This is good because enemies can escape the second hit. Next is the revamped Alucard. They removed the slow effect on his skill 1 and increased the cooldown of his skill 2 by 1 second. They've also added a 40% slow effect on his ultimate that lasts for 4 seconds. Next is Benedetta. Her skill 1 will now only deal 40% damage to minions and jungle creeps. Next is Brody. They've removed his ability to use his skill while charging his basic attacks. In exchange, they've increased his first skill damage and shortened the casting animation of his first and second skill. They also increased the movement speed he gets after dealing critical damage with his basic attacks. Next is Barats. He now has a voice. Let's listen to what this two can say.
I might not be a lightning man, but I do know my traits. Do you kiss your mama with that mouth? Not cool, kiddo. Not cool. Any of you saw Claude lately? Little fella still owes me 500 gold. Funny you should think people are more reliable than gold. No bargaining. Whoever you are, the price is fixed. Pay your debts! They call me a paper chaser? But Detna, who isn't? Detna is not fat. He's just big-boned. Shut up, Detna. You talk too much. Run faster!
As for his adjustments, skills work the same as before, except for some minor changes. Next is Freya's new skin, Raven Shogun. It will be available on August 18 for 899 diamonds with a 30% discount. They fixed Irrital's I Believe I Can Fly bug.
Don't be lazy, Leo. Run!
I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly.
Credit score will no longer be stored when playing in versus AI mode if it's higher than 70 points. There is now a history of matches that are played with friends. Next is Brawl Mode. They've balanced some heroes and spells when in Brawl Mode. Revitalize heal is now lower and Flame Shot cooldown is longer. Here is the list of strengthened heroes in Brawl. These are mostly melee heroes because it's hard to play them in a tight space.
Why does the moon seem so warm to me?
Next is the list of weakened heroes in Brawl. So what can you say about this update? Do you agree with the skill adjustments that they made? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. That's all for this video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.
But Detna, who isn't? Run faster!